has begun. We'll start with a roll call.
Thank you. We will start with roll call. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Moslahy,
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
We have quorum.
Okay, perfect. Our first item is public comment. This is for a general public comment, not for anything on the agenda today.
Thank you. We will start with in-person public comment. If anyone wishes to make a general public comment, they may fill out a slip and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to fill one out for general public comment. We will turn our attention to virtual attendance. And at this time, we do not have any hands raised for general public comment. And we did not receive any written correspondence for general public comment. So at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Thank you. Next is approval of the minutes from the full board meeting on March 10th.
I have a couple of comments on that meeting. If that's all right. One is an item one, the motion number 3. The first part is okay. It says the proposed trees that are being removed appear to be necessary as part of the remediation and required clearance for overhead power lines. I would say period, capital N-O, specimen, just so a little clearer. Item 2, motion item 3, I would think it sounds better if we say generally the board supports the project in size, bulk, and scale, generally. Item 3, motion item 1, applicant to look for ways to reintroduce. And then at the end, after window trim, comma, and instead of saying the shadow line at the window to wall transition, it's really just recessed windows. It's the same way of saying recessed windows. Am I allowed to make that change because it's the same way of saying it? Okay. And one more, hold on. And that's it. So I'll make a motion to approve the March 10th minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we will take a vote. Chair Lewis,
Abstain?
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Abstain.
Board Member Moslahy,
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next is approval of the minutes from the consent meeting on March 3rd. Member Richards, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I motion to approve these minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we will take a vote. Chair Lewis,
Yes?
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Moslahy,
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next is approval of the minutes from the consent meeting on March 10th. This was Board Member Moslegui.
Can we go through them really quick? Yeah. Item A is only findings. Let's go to the next one. Item B. Next page, please. Yes. I think item C was canceled as well. It's canceled, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the consent meeting at March 10th. Yeah.
I'll second.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Gafidi,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehi,
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next is ratification of action taken on the consent calendar of March 17th.
Great. And just to clarify, I'm not going to read these out because this was posted online with the full board agenda. So the actions are here and the items here. So
Okay.
they look good to you?
Then I move to ratify the action taken at the consent calendar on March 17th.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Gafidi,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehi,
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is announcements, requests for continuances, future agenda items, and appeals. Anything to note, staff?
Yes. So I just wanted to remind everybody that we didn't have any March 24th consent minutes to ratify because there was no March 24th consent hearing. And for items on today's agenda, item 4 for 112 Vista Del Mar, PLN 2023-00492, has been postponed indefinitely, and a new mailed notice will be sent out for a new hearing date once that's been identified by staff. So if there's anybody here for that item 4 on the agenda, it will not be heard today. And my other announcements is that for those board members who reapplied for a new term as part of the spring recruitment, please make sure you attend one of the city council interview dates. They are April 8th, April 15th, and April 22nd. Appointments will occur at the May 20th city council meeting. And those are it for announcements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from the board? Okay. We have an item for subcommittee reports.
No subcommittee
Okay.
reports to report.
Great. So we'll start with our first item. This is a new item here for concept review, 1703 La Cornea Drive. Proposal to construct a new 125 square foot roof deck and patio cover at the rear of an existing single-story, single-unit residence in the Hillside Design District. The project will require staff hearing officer approval of an open yard modification to allow the roof deck and spiral staircase to encroach into the open yard. This item is for comments only. No appealable action will take place at the meeting. The staff hearing officer requests comments for the project design supportability for the open yard modification. So welcome. Any staff comments?
The only staff comment is that the applicant is requesting board feedback prior to application completeness. So this project hasn't been assigned a case planner yet. So again, just general broad comments and for supportability of the specific modification requested.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. So welcome. You have 15 minutes to present.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. My name is Liz Hughes, presenting on behalf of Tom Oxner Architect. And I just want to clarify one thing, that we did receive a planner letter already for this project. So, and that's part of the reason why we're here today, is because we got feedback from the planner that the existing open yard is non-compliant, and we're requesting, when we put this deck, the deck that we're requesting would encroach onto the already non-compliant open yard space. So I'll start my presentation. This is actually a really, really small project that consists of, it's an existing single-family residence at 1703 La Coronilla. These photos are of the existing residence, the front, kind of looking to the neighbor. And then on the left-hand side, there's a two-story existing neighboring residence that you can see in a few of these photos here. That's the two-story portion of the neighbor. And I'm going to zoom in on the street view here of the existing. And nothing is changing about the existing residence here, just an existing single-story, single-family residence. The changes that we're requesting are an addition, which is a second-story deck on the rear of the building. This is our site plan, and you can kind of see the challenges with this lot is that it's an existing pie-shaped lot that tapers into the backyard, which is why the open yard square footage was not being met and why we're requesting the modification. And you can also see that since this building's been built, portions of the existing building are now encroaching into the current setback areas. The new construction actually remedies an existing violation, which is a patio cover on the back portion of the property. And so that will be removed as part of this application. The application also includes some interior work to the living room and dining room. The living room, we're providing new framing. The roof is actually going to stay in place, but we're vaulting the ceiling. And so all of the existing roof will be to remain. We're just opening up that ceiling framing on the inside to create a vaulted space here. And that relates to the location of the proposed deck. So this is the proposed plan. The area shaded in gray is the area that's changing under this application. We're adding some sliding doors out to the rear yard. And this is that little deck. It's 14 feet 8 inches by 8 foot 6 inches. Due to the pie-shaped nature of the lot, we struggled with keeping it as far away from this property line as possible. And so currently, that corner that's the closest is at almost 12 foot 2 inches to the property line. But the area that's actually within the 15 feet is a very small triangle that's about 9 square feet. The purpose of this project was to provide, there are some views from the upper, if there was a second story here, there would be some ocean views. And so originally we looked at kind of a larger project. This was part of a second story addition, which included a bedroom, bathroom, and a larger kind of family room on the upper level. But the owners decided that what suited their needs best was just having a little viewing platform so they could get that view without kind of having to go through the whole process of adding a second story addition. And then we have our proposed elevations. This is the side elevation showing the location of the deck. And you can see the reason why we kept it outside of the existing building footprint was so that we could provide the vaulted ceiling on the inside. So that's, originally it was pushed over the building footprint, but because we wanted to create that vaulted space on the interior, it ended up getting pushed out. And it also provides some additional shade because this, the back side of the building actually gets quite a bit of sun. And we actually originally wanted to extend a roof over more of this, but due to the setbacks, we were restricted. So weren't able to provide as much shade as we wanted along the southwest elevation, but provided the deck for the viewing along here. And the whole purpose is just to have, you know, 1 or 2 chairs up there to look out at the ocean. It's not large enough to really have a table or anything major up there, so just kind of a quiet little viewing platform. And then the existing elevations here, showing that back elevation, this is what's mostly affected. There are several existing French doors, and so we're kind of just streamlining that portion of the design by replacing those with 2 sliding doors instead. And then there's that patio cover that's in violation right now. So, and that's it. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. We will move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. We'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for this particular project. If anyone wishes to make a public comment, they may fill a slip out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will turn our attention to virtual attendance. And at this time, I do not have any hands raised for public comment on virtual attendance for this project, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this project. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Okay, thanks. We will move to questions from the board. Board Member Richards, do you want to start us?
Sure. So I see in this rendering that you're kind of showing this is all white. Is that the materiality and color that you're picking? Is it going to be white painted, aluminum and wood?
Exactly. Yeah, the existing doors and windows are white, and so we're matching those existing colors and just felt like that was the railing is actually an iron railing, so trying to kind of make it disappear as much as possible and have as much viewing area.
Okay. I think that's my question.
Board Member Mosley?
Do you know approximately how what's the height of the fence, the wall between the project site and the neighbor in the west? Like if you go to the images, number 4 shows that like wood fence, like the wall between, it's like an 8 feet wall. So this is
Yeah,
where the
it
deck
does.
will be.
Yes.
Okay.
Along that side. So there is a low CMU wall with a wood fence above it. I'm not sure exactly what the height is. It could be 8 feet,
Is
7
there
feet to 8
any
feet.
Future landscape proposed here? Any additional trees?
There's no landscape proposed as part of this project.
And one more question. So the cover of the patio will be removed, which was part of the violation. So when that is removed, will that make more square footage for the, like, because the open yard seems like it's not compliant, it's not enough? So will
Well,
that add square footage?
When the, for second story, any, I guess, occupiable space needs to be excluded from the open yard, even though you can
Okay.
still walk underneath it. That's,
Seems like the deck is smaller than the patio coverage, so you gain a little bit square footage in
Yeah.
the open yard. Okay. I think that's my questions.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Sherry?
Yeah, I still have a question about that issue is.
Vice Chair Sherry, can you turn on? Thank you.
You still need the mod because the reduction in the illegal conversion is not small enough to offset the new addition.
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes. And it also has to do with, you know, the tapering nature of the lot and where it's located, because it kind of cuts off even the portion to the right of it would not be allowed to be included.
And that mod's going to be added to the next, it's not on here because you just found out about it.
That's right. Well, the reason why we're here today actually is because the owners felt like before they applied for the mod, they wanted to get comments from the board so that we didn't kind of take it too far down the road only to come up with problems later on.
Okay. And then you mentioned that you couldn't move it to meet our guideline 15 feet from the adjacent neighbor, and I was just wondering why you couldn't move it over to just meet that guideline.
Oh, move it over. Yeah, actually, I will show, I'll go back to the elevation, actually. Part of the reason is because of the location and how it relates to that existing living room. Let's see, I'm gonna go to the proposed plan here. So originally we had 3 columns and the portion on this side was just a roof, but we ended up removing that because it was encroaching into the setback. But originally our columns were kind of located in relationship to the sliding doors. There's also an existing spa on the side here, and the owners wanted to maintain that location as much as possible. Originally, we also looked into having, you know, a more standard type of staircase instead of the spiral staircase, which ended up taking over more of the area. And so that was the original reason why the patio was located where it was. But then after we removed those to keep the spa in its current location, that's what's now dictating the upper deck location.
And the spa has a permit already?
I don't know. It didn't come up during the planner letter.
I'm just asking because you're kind of designing the upper level patio around that spa. So then my next question would be, what is the backyard situation with the neighbor to the west beyond the fence? I know there's a fence there, a high fence and a wall, but what part of the neighbor's usable backyard is directly visible from the new deck? Like, do you have an aerial?
I do have an aerial here that I printed out. There are some trees.
A lot of trees there.
Along the corner of the property, both on the neighbor's side and on the property, but I know it's a smaller tree on that corner. Let me go to that image again.
So it's right here. It's number 4, top right. This is all tree coverage.
So this here is a little bit of a tree.
And the neighbor, it seems like they have some,
This is the neighbor's backyard.
like a table and like an umbrella or something.
The other one is,
Maybe like, we don't know the program.
All right, we're looking at Google Earth.
that's all
Yeah.
my questions.
Thanks. Okay.
And Chair Lewis, pardon the interruption, but we just had a member of the public come in and they wished to make public comment for this item. They arrived kind of right when you're in the middle of asking your questions. So we were wondering if you were okay with allowing public comment at this time, or?
I am for this item.
Okay. Would you like to do that now or after you're done with your comments?
Let's do this and then we'll finish questions, just in case we have questions about that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind stating your address for the record, that would be helpful.
My name is Rose Jaffe. I'm a neighbor of Mr. and Mrs. Watson. Their house is above my house. They're on a hill and I'm just below them. And I agree that they should have a view, second story, but the size of it is too large. The house that will be as wide as their lot. That means the neighbors on the left and right will not have any privacy. I think 60 feet would be enough for them to have an outdoor view. That's what it's all about, a view.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you at 823? What's your address, ma'am?
My address is 823 Roberto Avenue, just below the 1700 Watson House.
Okay, thank you. So if you can switch screens back, and we'll take a look at the floor plan. And if you can just confirm the dimensions for the neighbor, I think that would be helpful. So the patio is 14 feet 8 inches wide and 8 feet 6 inches deep. The deck is a little less than 15 feet wide. Okay. That's okay, okay.
I think that if she looked at the screen, she's not looking at the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, and Chair Lewis, if I may, it might be helpful if you created some kind of type box on the screen itself.
That's okay. I will instead continue with questions to the applicant. Correct. Okay. Okay. Board Member Graffiti?
Yes, do you mind going, oh, sorry, I'm going to turn my mic on. Do you mind going back to the previous view of the backyard? I know we talked, there's no new landscaping proposed. I saw something green along that fence line. I just wanted you to confirm, is that like a small tree with a vine behind it, or what's currently
Of the
there?
existing photos?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
There's an existing tree on the corner.
What kind of tree is that?
I don't know, actually.
And then what's to the right of that? It's like something spindly. There, what's that?
I'm not sure what
Okay.
kind of tree that is.
Okay.
But this is the one at the corner.
Okay. Is this, do you envision this being visible from the street from, I guess, La Coronilla Drive?
No.
Okay, and when we're talking about non-compliant in terms of the open yard, do you know the square footage or the percentage difference from what compliant would be versus non-compliant?
Yeah,
Or
so.
versus what the current condition is?
So our current open yard size is, it's 1,170 square feet. And the required is 1,250.
Okay, so
So,
about 80
yeah.
feet off. Got it, thanks. I think the rest of my questions were answered. Yeah, that's it, thanks.
Okay, I don't have any questions. I think we'll move into comments. We'll start with Board Member Richards.
Yeah, I think my comments are just, I think the materiality of the deck, maybe the colors, the white just seems like it's going to stick out a little bit, and that maybe considering some darker tones that maybe match the gutters might be a little bit softer and bring down the scale of the appearance of it. And that's all my comments.
Board Member Graffiti? Oh, do you want me to come back?
No, me or
Oh, I'm sorry. In my mind, thank you. Mostly, thank you.
I think like if there is a tree there, which we don't know what that is, but if it's like covered on the west side, if we can identify what that species is and it grows, or there's an additional landscape proposed there, I don't think the scale of it is large that we have concerns about it being less than 15 feet. And as long as the non-compliance issue with the open yard will be, like, it could be solved, and we don't have the initial issue, I don't think the deck size is an issue being less than 15 feet, if additional landscape is proposed in that corner. That's my comment.
Okay, Board Member Sherry?
Yeah, I agree with Board Member Mosley that if landscaping is provided, it would assist, and then maybe that exact 15 feet wouldn't be required. It's a guideline anyway. But another thing that might help is instead of there being the pretty transparent vertical metal railing around all three sides, maybe the west side could be something different, so that when you're sitting out there, you're not looking out over into the neighbor. That would be an alternative solution to landscaping, in my opinion. Because then your view would be looking straight out over, instead of off to the right, facing, if you're facing out. And then I'm not opposed to the white because it matches the white trim. I think a second-story deck is going to stand out anyway. So I think that the color would be, trying to imagine a different color, and I respect that comment. I just think that the white might look best from an architectural standpoint. And I have no issue with the open yard modification because I actually think the deck doubles the square footage of your open yard and provides even more. And if somebody was offering a deck, then they should be able to add that square footage to their open yard, honestly. But I don't think they do, but I'm okay with it.
Board Member Graffiti?
Yep, I agree with what's been said. I think, typically we would look to a patio or a deck being set back 15 feet, but I think because of the modest size and height and all of that, it's okay. And I would agree, I'd like to see some sort of landscaping or screening element required. The open yard is a minimal amount of space, and to Vice Chair Sherry's point, it's going to be adding outdoor usage. So I think I'm in support, and I don't mind the white either.
Okay. I agree with the comment so far. I do agree with Board Member Richards of maybe not as bright white, and maybe when you come back for PDA that it's muted in some way, but I agree with trying to coordinate it to the colors. I appreciate the attempt to try to minimize it and have enough visibility through it, and I agree with the comments about the open yard. If it's at all feasible, I think us adjusting it, I think another foot or two, it meets all the requirements and is easy. But I agree with the comments about the size. So I think can move on to project design approval with some comments. I'm curious, the board recommending this to consent calendar.
I think we're here for comments only, right?
Right,
It's
but
definite continuance to.
sure, but after that,
yeah.
as a part of our motion, we need to make it, okay.
Great.
Okay, so I move to continue this project to the staff hearing officer and later to the consent calendar with the following comments. The board can support the open yard modification given that the deck provides more space to occupy in the backyard, and the footprint of the deck is minimal to help increase functionality under the deck. The appearance is minimal in design and works to coordinate with the materials of the existing structure. The board would like to see a material palette that helps further minimize the appearance and blend in with the existing residence. The board finds the scale of the deck appropriate. And the board would like to see either landscape privacy along the west property line or adjustments to the railing to encourage views to the distance and not into the neighbor yards.
I know you requested a material palette. Do you want to specify anything about the color?
Just warmth.
Okay.
So yeah, tying in.
I can second that motion.
Okay. All right, we can take a roll call.
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Mosahi,
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. And will someone check my math? Are we ready to go to the second item, or do we need to wait a little bit?
I think we have to wait until 3:50 if my...
Well, we can start 15 minutes before, which I think we're exactly 15 minutes before.
But actually, if we could have a break so we can discuss.
I would like to request a break to
minutes?
just discuss with a member of the public that made public comment today
Please?
for this
Okay.
specific item.
Okay.
If we could get...
A 5-minute recess?
Yeah, a 5-minute recess. Staff
Okay.
would appreciate that. And then when we return, we can begin item 2.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, we will take a 5-minute recess.
Great, thank you.
up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, you're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, 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 oh,
The Single Family Design Board, are we back to recording?
I think give us one moment. Are we recording?
Yes, it should be recording. We're
Okay.
recording.
Yeah, we're back online.
Okay, we will get started with item 2. This is a new item here for concept review. 1129 Crestline Drive, proposal for an 833 square foot second story addition and a 199 square foot roof deck. The project includes a front setback modification to allow the remodeled garage to encroach into the front yard setback. Proposal includes interior renovations and other site work. The proposed total of 3,041 square feet of development on a 13,503 square foot lot is 73% of the required maximum floor to lot area ratio. Review and approval of the front setback modification is required by the staff hearing officer. This item is for comments only. No final appealable action will take place at this meeting. The staff hearing officer also requests comments for the design supportability for the front setback modification. So if we can start with staff comments.
Hi, my name is Will Russell, the case planner for the project. Again, it's only here for just comments only today. So this is the first step in the process. If given positive feedback and the applicant works through the completeness items, the next step would be the staff hearing officer for the approval of this front setback modification. Other than that, the design, any comments that you have today are very applicable and would weigh in on that modification. Other than that, I will be here if you guys have any questions or concerns.
All right, thank you. So welcome. I see your microphone's already on. If you will state your name for the record, and you'll have 15 minutes to present and walk us through the project.
Great. I'm Adam Grossons. So, basically, like staff said, we're here for comments only. Basically, there's two things we want to suss out. Is the house is existing non-conforming in the front yard setback. There's quite a few of the houses are that way in this area. And so that's one thing is the modification in the setback. And then the other area is just the size, bulk, and scale, overall design, just general comments, kick the tires on it. And yeah, we're here just for comments only. So we have, let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Okay. So basically, for this, we just we're going to do probably a more extensive neighborhood study, but we just pointed out all of the second-story additions on the block, and like the design guidelines pretty much clearly say that the second-story addition should step back. A lot of these additions are sort of extrusions over garages, and then they have like sort of a little skirt of a roof over each of them. To like sort of break up the mass. Ours is going to actually be set back from the garage and the setback and provide some break in it. And this property here at 1151 is 20 feet from the setback and is a second story addition over a garage and existing non-conforming, of course, and also has a roof deck above the garage on the second story. That's 20 feet from the property line as well. These are some shots of the existing residence. They're a bit close up, but anyway, it's a ranch-style house, a single family. Sort of this is the front of the garage, side of the garage, rear, and this is sort of the entry portico. This is the piece here. We'll have more photos of the existing house. The material palette that we're looking at is a sort of a two-tone of a red cedar and a white board and batten, and then all of our lighting and our accents are all of a dark sort of bronze color and all very downlit. And we have sort of step lights and low lights in sensitive areas. Part of the modification piece that we're looking at is, this is a diagram. The site plan will be a little bit more clear, but this is just a diagram of sort of a swimp. But basically, is that the existing driveway is here and takes up a lot of impermeable area, and so we're planning on making that a front yard area. The site is on a pretty steep hill after the deck here, so there's not really a lot of like grass on the site, and so to make it like a usable open yard, we're looking at moving the driveway to be front facing. We have a little start of a preliminary neighborhood study where we show like the front facing houses and also the heights of them. The survey, you can see that that rear yard is very steep, going down, and then this is that driveway that's taking up quite a bit of space just to be able to make that turn and that work with the garage. This is just a study of the substantial redevelopment that were under those triggers. This is sort of we were looking at. Zoom in a little bit. We were looking at the heights of the other buildings in the area, and also the distance from like the front yard, and so. So like there's a bunch that have straight-in driveways and side-in driveways, so there's a mixture of sort of 50-50 of like either straight-in or side driveways in the area, and the heights are all sort of. For the second stories are all sort of at or a little above or maybe a little below for that one of what our proposed heights are. And then there's varying degrees of like the original was a 20-foot setback in this area, and the current zoning code is a 30-foot. So there's like a varying degrees of conformance with the current setbacks for these second-story buildings that currently exist. So this is on the left here is the existing site plan, and we have the driveway coming in that we're planning on proposing to demolish, and then the idea is that we have a new driveway here. The current the streetscape for this road does not comply with the current master plan for pedestrian and cycling, so we actually have to grant 1 foot to the city of Santa Barbara for those future improvements, and so that makes our sort of their setback like 31 feet from property line, because basically we measure off of the area that we're granting to the city for these future improvements. The driveway width, we're proposing an 18-foot because of just it's a sort of a minimum length, and just to allow for a little extra turning radius. The The standards call for 16 with 18 for maneuverability and also like discretion of the board. The existing garage, so here's the existing floor plan of the building. The existing garage is actually too narrow to meet the minimum parking standards of Santa Barbara by a foot. So we need to push this wall out a foot, and that's what's sort of triggering our modification, regardless if we move the driveway. So that is, so in order to meet the minimum standards to park 2 cars in and meet our covered parking, we need to do that. And again, many of the houses are encroaching, have similar sort of conditions in the area. The current configuration of the house is a 3-bedroom with an office on the first floor. Demo RCP, and then what we're proposing is to do three bedrooms on the first floor. Reconfigure the garage so that it meets the 20 by 20 minimum that is required. That is the transportation standard, and then put the driveway at the front and allow for an open yard area for the since basically the rear of the house is just a slope. A demo roof plan. The second floor is a family room and office / guest room with a window here with views here, with views out. The other windows on this side are pretty high. We'll go to that shortly on the elevations. And then part of this proposal would be a roof deck, and we're here to get sort of comments on it, size and scale and concerns from the board and the community. All of our lighting is going to be those downlight sconces, which I pointed out earlier. So it'd just be the minimum lighting of the ground surface for safety. This is the front elevation. So we're using the sort of the cedar for this lower mass, and I'll zoom in. We're using the cedar for this lower mass and the board and bats siding for these different elements. Sort of break it up. The client wanted more of a contemporary beach feel, and so that's what we were going for. This is the east elevation. So here's the entry court where we have like a little bit of a covered. There's currently a covered area there, but we just sort of made it more of a modern element and tied it in with the garage and sort of these two elements here with the office area and the garage we have as the cedar, and the rest of it is the board and bat. And then the roof deck, we basically just have a solid surface with the last 6 inches as a railing, open railing, so that you can see out when seated. But basically, if you're seating, that the direct line of sight to like the street and stuff would be sort of masked by the wall for privacy, light, and sound. This is the rear overlooking the canyon. So we're proposing to, this is the existing, so we're proposing to vault that roof just inside of that living room area as part of the modification, since we're doing surgery to make the addition. This is the west elevation of the house right now. Right now we have it as a we have it as an exterior stair. We sort of use the materiality, sort of break up the masses of this. And then we have a couple of just like sections that we were just using as like studies to sort of make sure we had enough distance for constructability and et cetera. and then I'll just go to the front cover sheet because that probably tells the story the best with that rendering.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So next we'll move to public comment. I think that we anticipate lots of public comment. We've read through all of the ones that were written in to us. One thing that I'll note prior to starting is that there's a few things outside of our board's purview. And so to help you with your limited time is probably to focus on things that we're allowed to comment on. So one of the things is that we are concerned with privacy, but we are outside of our purview is your view from your private or from your house. That is something that you can legally request and order and have your view protected. But as it stands, our board is not able to protect your view from your property with these buildings. Inside our purview is the size, bulk, and scale, and neighborhood compatibility. And outside of the purview is construction and how they might work with that in the neighborhood and how much noise that might come up with. I'm trying to think of anything else that I've already read in the public comment, just to help staff if you want to add to anything there.
Thank you, Chair. Also, parking is out of the purview. Construction hours, those are all limited by our building and safety staff. So I think most of the comments today should really be focused on the design, the massing, and I did see a lot of those in those letters as well. So I hope that also helps.
Yeah. Sebastian, anything else?
No, I don't think there's anything else. I did appreciate in the public comment that these were referenced. So that makes it easier for the board to kind of contend with your comments. So that's appreciated. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, we will open public comment, and as we do have quite a few people who are speaking, if you could come up two at a time, please. When you come up to the podium, please press the mic, and you will have 2 minutes to speak. So our first two speakers will be Mr. Skip Bond and Kathleen Wright. If you could please approach the podium.
As a part of your public comment, if you live in the neighborhood, if you can indicate your address.
Hi, my name is Skip Bond. Spelling last is B-O-N-D. Hi, my name is Skip Bond. Spelling last is B-O-N-D. Madam Chair and ladies and gentlemen of the board, I want to thank you for listening to me. I'm only going to put voice to what I wrote. I noticed while listening, the term break up the mass was used in the design of this very beautiful house. The mass, and that's exactly what it is. It's much too big for the neighborhood. It's much too huge. It is better suited for Montecito on acreage that won't dwarf it, but will complement it. On Crestline Drive, in our neighborhood, it's just too big. As far as privacy, we're not going to talk about that. What we will talk about is the sun. It comes up in the east and sets in the west like it always has, and the neighbors to the west will be blocked. Their morning sun will be blocked, and the downhill neighbors, the afternoon sun will be blocked. I mean, it's just a huge project, a great wall. It makes a beautiful canyon for the two neighbors to try to live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, would you mind stating your address, Skip?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I think I have 1151 from your pub, is that right?
Yes, I'm the recalcitrant that lives at 1151.
Thanks.
I'm not in code of anything, but I went through your illustrious board in 1976, I think, in 1976, and got approval from the board at that time for the building.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us do all this today. We'll keep it short. My name is Kathleen Wright. I live at 1158 Crestline Drive, which is across the street and away from the cul-de-sac. So while I'm not real impacted as far as right next door into this or right across the street, I do have a little bit of an issue on the size and the scale of this new proposed remodel across the street. I can totally understand how you all want to capture the views because we have beautiful views. I just think that it's just way out of scale for our neighborhood. We have, all of our homes on my side of the street, most of them are built as 2 stories originally. Some of us have added on to the back portion of it to go out towards I don't know directions very well, but like say towards the freeway, the mountains, away from the ocean. We've done that, but it's, our homes were built as 2 stories to start with, so I get the 2-story stuff. But it seems like with the deck up on top, it's going to attract some party-hardy type stuff in our little cul-de-sac that's quiet and happy and reserved. So that's my main concern also is the impact that decking would have on our neighborhood. So I thank you for your time, and the rest is in my email. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Kimon Rybnicek and Cynthia Castaneda. If you could please approach the podium.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. My name is Kimon Rybnicek. I've owned and lived in a single-story residence at 1107 Crestline Drive with my wife, Tara, for 26 years. I also held the position of treasurer of the Bel Air Knolls Civic Association from 2015 to 2024. Contrary to the Santa Barbara SFR Design Guidelines, I feel the proposed remodel at 1129 with its 3rd floor rooftop deck will be disproportionately larger and more extensive than any other home on the south side of Crestline. As pointed out, most of those 2-story pictures that were shown were all original homes, and they're arranged end to end to maximize views and minimize privacy invasion. The plan's longwise oriented 2nd and 3rd levels will eliminate existing privacy for those upper and lower adjacent homes and block their sunlight and views. The rooftop deck is unprecedented in the neighborhood and will compromise privacy and quiet for dozens of homes in all directions. I live 4 doors down, and I can see that when that rooftop deck is up there, I'm going to see people up there, and they're going to see into my yard. I feel the architectural firm failed to consult any of the affected neighbors during the planning process per Good Neighbor Protocol. And the plans for the 1129 Crestline Drive remodel does violate the SFR Design Guidelines as cited. My wife and I, along with many other Bel Air Knolls residents, we stand united in opposing this plan, and we thank you for providing us the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Cynthia Castaneda with my husband, Richard Castaneda, and we reside at 1137 Crestline Drive, next door to the projected remodel home at 1129. Hopefully, the board has reviewed our submitted email and views of photos that I attached. Our family strongly opposes this remodel next to us. My email suggests to envision if this was your home with the invasion of privacy. I cordially invite all the board members to come to visit my house and our neighborhood, as the integrity and private intrusion will compromise the enjoyment of our properties. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we will have Mr. Lopez and Miss Carroll. If you could please approach the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Oswaldo Lopez. I have been requested by the neighbors and the Castanedas to provide my expert opinion with respect to the proposed nature of the modification to the home at 1129 Crestline. I'm a licensed practicing architect, having carried my license without any modifications or anything like that for 45 years. I've practiced all over the world, and I've worked with some of the most significant property owners around the world as well, ranging from French Polynesia, Canada, Central America, all of the United States, and elsewhere. However, the case in point regards the massing and the development of this property with respect to a rooftop deck, which, in my opinion, as an architect, strictly mandates that it not be approved for that particular reason. I've allegedly been told, well, there's alleged information to me that was presented to me yesterday that there's already been rooftop jumping from that property into their existing pool. So we expect that this will exacerbate the entertainment aspect of the owners as currently proposed, but we're not real sure. We also feel, and I also have specifically mentioned in my comments, that this infringes very, very much into the privacy of 1139 Crestline Drive, which, in my opinion, is infringing on their value of their property as well as their inability for privacy, given that they do have grandchildren. So we respectfully request that the status be canceled or suspended in such time that I've made a request that the designer or the architect and the owner meet with the community to discuss the ongoing plans. Thank you.
Afternoon, Chair Lewis, board members, and Mr. Russell, staff. My name is Angela Carroll. I am here to advocate for the Castanedas behind me. As adjoining neighbors, they're the most impacted. I do have a degree in urban studies and planning. I've represented public agencies with regard to code and so forth, and also been practicing developer and commercial real estate for 40 years. So I'm going to try to skip to the main points here. The scale is definitely out of line here. We have a lot to say about privacy, but I'll skip over that because of the invitation to go check it out from Ms. Castaneda. I just think the findings should disallow any kind of administrative review due to the hillside nature as well as the modification. We need to see story or more enhanced photographic records to show what it is we're looking at. The modification, I don't believe, is justified. I did hear the comments. Thank you for explaining from the architect a little more in depth what that's about, but still, I don't think it's fair or just. It's not mitigating the condition with that setback, which is the normal protocol there. And it's inconsistent with zoning code and general plan. The rooftop deck is, I don't know if there's any precedent. I asked staff about this, but basically it's just inappropriate and justified for the reasons that you've heard. The neighborhood compatibility is a big one in the design guidelines, and I don't think the findings are warranted at this moment. Just, learning more. So I know the Castanedas are completely opposed to all elements of this. I'm just running through some bullet points for better understanding. The good neighbor guidelines were just not followed. That's part and parcel of the design review guidelines. And because of not reaching out, it's leaving kind of a cloud here as to why, and how are you going to meet the findings. So also,
I think you're at time.
okay, well, we'd like to request a postponement, in other words, and have a physical site visit to review in more detail. There could be overlays or other things that I haven't checked out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we will have Mr. Bosch and Mr. Soares, if you could please approach the podium.
Good afternoon. My name's Stephen Bush. I live at 1116 Crestline Drive. We're down the street a few houses, but we would be looking at the bulk of that property and this rooftop deck if it got approved. One of my big concerns is the privacy. You've been invited. I encourage you to go take a look at the house. One of the comments that was made by the architect was the west view, the mass, and I know that you said you're not dealing with views from the people's houses, but a mountain view becomes a building with a big staircase on it. Views are important in Santa Barbara. Views are important in our neighborhood. It doesn't conform with the basic design of what the neighborhood is. It's been mentioned already that most of the homes that are two-story were built as two-story and designed accordingly. The rooftop deck appears plopped on the top of a roof, and that just doesn't fit with your design guides. I went through your design guidelines, and this project violates a number of those, from rooftop privacy, looking down into backyards, into windows, intrusion into a house, and just that design appearance of that plop-on. My other concern is it's very nice to show a 42-inch high railing with a little, short wall that helps to block while people are sitting down. You're standing on a roof deck. There's going to be umbrellas brought up there and patio heaters. I live in Santa Barbara. It's too cool to be outside up on the roof at night, so you're going to have heaters up there. You're going to have lighting up there. You're going to have umbrellas up there to be up there during the daytime. These are all major concerns, and the biggest one that I have is that outside window at the bottom of the staircase is a perfect setup for a door to be laid in their future. As working construction for years, that window gets opened up to a door, the little opening into the kitchen gets closed off, and now you have outside entrance for a ADU or a secondary unit to be rented on VRBO or whatever it happens to be, with a rooftop deck and ocean views in Santa Barbara. Completely out of line with our neighborhood. The sound transference from that rooftop will be immense to our entire neighborhood as well. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Soares. I live at 3128 Foothill Road. I can't see this from my house, but I can see it from my in-laws' home, who live, Jim and Becky Johnson, who live at 1121 Crestline. I just want to amplify the comments that have been made here. This is not contextual with the homes, the design of the homes on their side of the street. Apart from that one at the top of the hill, all the homes going down that grade are all single-story homes. This would invite a great departure from the aesthetic and the contextual nature of those homes along that side of the street. Plus, that deck would also look into their backyard as well. So there are definitely privacy concerns, and I don't see how that has been addressed. The good neighbor guidelines clearly have not been followed. It would have been nice to have seen this ahead of time so that we wouldn't have to raise our remonstrance here in such unity, but it's warranted. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
That is my last in-person public comment. If anyone else wishes to make a comment, they can fill out a slip and bring it to me. I see no one else in the audience moving to speak, so we will turn our attention to virtual attendance. And at this time, I do not have any hands raised for virtual comment. And we did receive written correspondence for this project from concerned neighbor, Jack and Nancy Tustian, Sheila Brotherton, Laura Caulfield, Richard and Cynthia Castaneda, Gary Costantino, Eileen Princelow, Kimon and Tara Ribnisek, Linda Bush, Steve Bush, Oswaldo Lopez, Kathleen Wright, D.E. and L.L. Bond, Selena Wilmel, Stephen Castaneda, R. Daniel Little, and James and Rebecca Johnson. And at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Thank you. We will start with questions from the board. Board Member Richards?
Sure. I guess if we can get the drawings back up.
It's like locked.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Nobody look at my fingers.
I guess my first question is, so on your exterior elevations, you call out the vertical board and bat siding at 6 inches on center, and then the wood siding, the cedar, at 4 inches on center. Is there a reason that those are so close to being the same size?
Yeah, we wanted them to relate to each other, but just to be subtly off. The client had some precedent images of that they liked of sort of contemporary seaside houses and stuff like that. We went through a number of design options with them, and this was sort of the one that that met their aesthetic.
Okay. And then also on that exterior elevation, along the shared property line with the staircase that goes up, is there a reason that you have the railing open on that stair and then also on the landing up at the top and differentiate basically from the greater roof deck area?
I'm not really sure exact decision on that one, but yeah, I mean, we could have that as closed or that, but again, we sort of came in as preliminary because we have the sort of the modification in the front and a bunch of other things that we didn't know quite for comments. So we really wanted to get in early for sort of the modification piece, because that affects our site plan and development.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mm-hmm.
Board Member Moslehi?
Okay, if you go to that chart that you have, the neighborhood study, do you have a FAR study that aligns with this in the neighborhood?
We didn't get a chance to finish it yet. This is a preliminary study. So we got the sort of the heights and the acreage, but we're trying to get all of the houses.
Can you mention now that we are on the, can you zoom in on the chart and mention the red is the...
Oh, the red is our property, so yeah.
So comparing here, yes, sorry. So the proposed height is
23 feet.
23 feet, and the setback
Is 30.
30. Okay.
It's technically 31 because of
Okay.
we're granting.
If you go to a second floor plan or the second floor and roof deck, and walk us through how the outline of the location of the roof deck was proposed. Why is there existing constraints of why it's there, why the size is there, and why it's proposed there, just so for the public and everybody to know why it's there.
So we did set it back from the front facade to provide roof and for it to disappear a little bit with perspective, and then also to have the siding of the roof also disguise some of the railing as well on that. So we pulled it back from the front edge and the side edge. So if it were to stack over the building, it would be out here. It wouldn't be pushed back here.
Is there any structural constraints existing that made it top page, bottom page being the location that it is?
Yeah, it was sort of a structural line here for the second floor to sort of stack and basically kitchen wall. So we're sort of stacking there, and then this stacks on a good column location that we're using to sort of bear this here. So basically. There's a structural line here, back here, and then back to the house here. There's a good structural bearing line underneath there, and then this is the entry court with what was it, with the kitchen is underneath that wall there.
And what's the reason for that jog in the top page?
Right here?
At the,
At the top of
at
the
the
2-foot.
deck, yeah.
We're actually setback. The setback,
It's on angle.
yeah, the property line is actually angled here. So it actually angles across the site. So that's why. So we're not encroaching. So the second floor is not encroaching on the into the setback.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was my questions.
Yeah, I'm curious, the driver behind having a roof deck instead of a deck out off the second towards the backyard.
It was a client and sort of an internal designer decision that was we were sort of pursuing that they just wanted to see if it had legs and basically and propose it because it's not against any design review criteria. So yeah, we were just looking to see if we could do it.
Okay, but as far as functionally, it could function just as well on the second floor looking out?
Yeah, we could.
Okay. I'll come back for more questions, but Board Member Sherry?
Yeah, I have a question about why, if you go to the second floor plan, the proposed second floor plan, and if you look south, and there's, the windows facing south are all high windows. So I was wondering why you chose not to have any windows on the second floor that would face south toward, to a view.
So the roof itself kind of, well, there's a couple of reasons, but I'll go to that elevation real quick. The chimney is sort of back here. We're going to make this one operable, and then the roof line here is actually pretty high. So we were just leaving that as just a high window, sort of to match that. But basically, we didn't want to make this one operable because of the proximity to the fireplace or the chimney. And then this one here, we were just matching, and the roof line there, this is the finished floor of the second floor.
So the chimney doesn't have to be extended. The chimney's not within 10 feet of that new second floor south elevation?
Yes, we stopped this elevation 10 feet from the chimney.
And you're concerned that if you had a lower window that had a view, then the smoke from the chimney would be seen from the window?
Oh, we were putting what was it, like a Murphy bed and some furniture. It was sort of more furniture considerations that we decided to do that.
And then a question for staff, because somebody that was a public speaker mentioned that they didn't understand, and maybe I don't understand, the need for the mod in the front yard setback. Is it because any alterations to elements currently within the front yard setback require a mod?
Correct. So if we were to look at the site plan, there's that garage addition that got pushed out into that 30-foot front setback. I want to roughly say it's about a foot, maybe two.
It's 1 foot.
1 foot. So that is what's triggering that front setback modification there. I think on the site plan on the right, it kind of highlights it just a little bit. The existing garage, where the dimensions for transportation maneuverability standards today require that it actually be a little larger. That garage in today's standards non-conforming to our transportation guidelines. So,
Go ahead.
No, I think I was going to
Yeah,
leave
so
it back
it's
to you.
just the garage that's requiring it, and they have to make adjustments to the garage in order to meet the requirement.
So the 20 by 20 is triggered by the fact that they want to make alterations, and because they want to make alterations, they have to make the size conforming, so they have to add the 1 foot.
Correct, but if they were to leave the garage alone, it could remain as existing non-conforming.
If they were to just move the garage door and relocate the driveway apron, and they couldn't do that because staff would require them to meet the 20 by 20, and that's what's putting them into a modification situation?
Yes, correct, yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Board Member Graffiti?
I think you mentioned the height was 23 feet. Can you show me from what point because I know with the deck, and then there's a second story, the top of ridge, what is that 23 inclusive of?
So right here.
Okay, so the top of the deck railing, and then it's 21,
To the
1 and
ridge.
70 to the ridge.
Mhm.
Okay, great. How far is the second story step back from the street? I think it's quite a bit. Do you know roughly?
The second story is 31 feet. From the
Or
street?
from the first, from the first story.
From the first story?
Garage, yeah.
Roughly about like 7 or 8 feet.
Okay. And in terms of, when we talk about the deck, I think you cited one example as a second story blue home up the street that had a kind of a smaller deck above, or from the second story above a garage.
So it basically has a
Yeah.
deck.
Are there any other, and that's just the second story, that's not a third story deck. Are there any examples on that street or the nearby neighborhood that have a third story deck?
Third story, no. Second story in the front setback, there's multiple, but no.
Okay, similar to the one referenced at 1151?
That one's pretty small compared to the other ones in the neighborhood. Some
Okay.
are the entire size of a garage.
Okay, but on the second story?
On the second story,
Okay.
yes.
And how big is the proposed deck?
9.5 feet by 14 foot.
Okay. And then just the arrangement of windows on that second story, is there, from the inside, can you remind me what is happening there? What is the footprint, or what room is that?
Which side?
On the second story facing the street?
On the front side is a living room, on the further back side is an office.
Okay, a living room on the second story.
Yeah, like a family room is what we're calling it. But yeah, so this is a family room here, and this is an office here.
Okay, and then can you help me understand what's driving the arrangement of windows on the second story? Just as I'm looking at the first story, there's the corner windows on the second story I see, but all different kind of sizes and shapes. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so the windows were arranged by sort of let me go to the. It's actually better to go in 3D that rendering. Where is it? So this proportion here relates to the proportion here, which then, and this proportion here relates to this proportion here. And then this here is, there's some relationship on the corner here.
Okay.
Been a while, but.
And then what's happening in that corner above the entry?
Right here?
Yeah.
So right now there's like a dark overhang there. So we're basically putting in this like entry element and putting in a like a hole in the middle of it just to provide light in it, because right now there's like a window that's the kitchen sink window looks into like just this very dark overhang, and it's very hard to read that that's the entry to the house. It's just a little slot next to the garage.
Okay. And then just last question, because I think this came up in public comment. I know the houses below are kind of required, height of 30 feet and recommended of 25. But for the sun, did you do a sun study, or remind me what the steps are?
Yes, so the northern property line is typically the property line you look at for the sun study, and the northern property line is the street. So we didn't do one because the code talks about the northern property line.
Okay. And then I think we already talked about FAR. I know you guys are below the 85%, but okay, so no FAR study required. Okay, great. That's all my questions.
So if you can go to the perspective and walk us through the materiality. Right now, I'm trying to understand what's the driver between the changes in the materiality.
It was basically like it was basically sort of taken some from some sort of contemporary precedent images and to sort of have a playful nature between like the different masses of it, between like the different buildings and the different materials. We didn't want to do another like just like scrape down modern building, whereas it's like you just sort of cut the eaves and then just make everything white with black trim or whatever. We wanted to do something a little bit more interesting and playful, and so that's what we were going for. And the cedar was sort of more of a harken back to like sort of a Scandinavian style, mixed with the board and bat of the existing house.
So it just sort of opposites to try and balance rather than, because you had talked about massing, but it's not like one full massing that receives it. It's kind of separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of as the different masses jog, we use different materials and like in a sort of a complementary language. So we use a complementary size of panels as Board Member Richards was pointing out for like the two pieces, but there's sort of like a rawness of the one and like a more polished of the other.
Okay. And then the only other thing, one of the things when we look at second stories is trying to set it back from the perimeter a little bit. I know that you mentioned that some of the existing ones are straight up in certain areas as they were originally designed, but is there a reason you hugged the neighbor side instead of bringing it in a little bit more towards the rear where you have a long distance between a neighbor and more space to kind of have that bulk?
It was more of a structural sort of like modification of the first floor concern of just sort of reusing a lot of the existing walls and bearing lines, and so that was sort of springing a lot of the sort of the form and massing.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, we'll start with comments. Board Member Richards.
I mean, I think your explanation of the different sizing material seems to make sense. I think there may need to be a study on how it integrates with the gates and the directionality of the materials a little bit. I think I don't have any problem with the scale of the project being 73% of FAR. And I think, it seems like the biggest concern from the neighbors is that roof deck. So maybe a consideration of bringing that down to the second floor might get you a lot more fans in the area. I think that's all the comments that I had.
Okay, Board Member Mosley.
I agree with the FAR issue, like it's not an issue. The issue is like being the deck on the third story, which there's no compatibility in the neighborhood. That's why this is all happening with the public, and as I think like I'm talking on behalf of the board, that we recommend reaching out to the neighbors for the good neighbor guidelines. Looking at the second story plan, floor plan and the deck, if this end up to be where it is, I think there are ways that this can be a little bit modified, the outline of it, when the study of like more images from the neighbors from down the hill, we don't have that documentation so that we can look from different angles. We are only looking at a render from the street view, so it's early on for us to judge how that will affect the different angles from different neighbors. So at that point, I think like there will be more study to study that. Is this the best location to put and maybe there are constraints that structurally that can be resolved in order to make it more optimum for the neighborhood. And if we can go to elevations, Next one, please. Next sheet, the one that has the staircase.
Oh, got it, yeah.
Yes. I'm still having, you talked a little bit about the relationship of the openings. I'm still having trouble understanding the relationship. As an example, the window, the horizontal window on the first level, it has a vertical window above it. So, and then we have like the windows that are going up with the stairs. So there's the narrative of the windows, it makes it more busier. So I think like the second story addition and the deck and everything with the multiple sizes and different variation of the windows, it makes it more bulkier. So maybe there's a way that it can be studied that it's muted more, so it's a more calm, it's a side facade, but it's important for the neighbors, not from the street, but we are not seeing any proposed landscape plan, so it's early on to judge like what will happen on the side elevations. I think in general, I think it will be like, I want to hear about the third story deck from other board members to see what are their opinions.
Okay, Board Member Sherry?
I think that the general mass and the location of the second-story addition is compatible with the neighbors. I think there's lots of second stories in the neighborhood, and the fact that they were, some of them were built originally as 2 stories doesn't mean that somebody who buys a 1-story house has to keep it a 1-story. So I think that the way you've done it is actually a lot more appropriate than some of the other ones in the neighborhood. So I appreciate the second story being set back. I don't think that I have an issue with that mass at all. The solar ordinance has been vetted by staff, I'm assuming, and there are going to be no significant shadows cast from the second story because of its facing. And I think that there could be some study done on the windows. As I mentioned in my questions, it's kind of a shame that you're wanting a roof deck to get views, I would assume, but then your second story addition doesn't have any views at all. So there's plenty of room to do larger windows on the lower level to get to capture some of those views. So I would suggest studying the windows on the second floor, and the windows on the front. I wish that they had more of a presence being on the front of the building. Maybe go to the front elevation. I think this was already commented on. It just, it kind of seems like the windows are driven by the floor plan and the furniture arrangement on this house, and instead of the architecture. So it might be interesting to study that a little bit. And one minor comment about the entry roof is that I think that the roof over that little fascia edge in the middle, like the donut, it appears a little heavy compared to the column. But the biggest issue is that I can't support the roof deck being exposed above the massing of the second story roof the way it's presented. It's too heavy. It does appear to be plopped down onto the roof, and it doesn't really go with. It might look great on Cape Cod at the beach, but it doesn't really. It sets a negative precedence for massing in the neighborhood for these second stories, I think. That's it.
Okay. Actually, do you mind if I ask one quick question before I jump to comment? So on the second story element, do you know the distance between the east side of the house or the right side of the house looking from the street to the neighboring property line?
Let me go to the site plan.
Is it on the setback or what's?
No, setback is back here.
Okay.
So we're probably
it's a 10-foot setback. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. So over 10 feet from that neighboring. Okay, great. So I agree with a lot that's been said. I think there are a lot of great elements of this project. I understand there's a lot of concern from the neighborhood around the mass and bulk, but I think as we look at, well, the FAR 73% is well below our kind of 85% guideline. So looking at the numbers, but then even just looking at the heights, putting the deck aside, which I'll speak to in a minute, 21-foot, top of ridgeline for a second story is extremely modest, and maybe it's difficult to extract that from the renderings, but I don't see that as being any sort of challenge with bulk. And just the way that you stepped back the second story as well from the street, I think is done very well and will help relieve any sort of sense of a large scale or massing. I will continue to look forward to, materials and all of that as you work it out. I agree with the comments around the window arrangement. I think you could probably consider more how that looks from the outside and capturing more of those views. And I guess last point, again, I think given that this isn't a neighborhood that has a third-story roof deck really at all, and what you'd be capturing with that and the concerns about privacy, I would encourage to, look at ways to bring that down to the second story or just building out windows to capture those views. The only decent part about it is, again, the overall height of the entire building is still very low for, second stories that we see around Santa Barbara. So, but still, that being said, I don't think it'd be appropriate for this neighborhood. But aside from that, a lot of great elements.
I agree about the roof deck. I think it needs to be eliminated and find a way if you want a deck on the rear yard and or into that inner courtyard, similar to how some of the other ones are in the neighborhood. The material palette itself, I support. I think the determining which ones are which. Right now it feels arbitrary, and it feels like it's not one singular house. And I think you can still find ways to mix the materials while making a little bit more sense of that, because I think they're beautiful material palette. But just thinking about that a little bit more, and I agree about the window placement and really taking a step back now. And as Board Member Sherry said, I think they work really well with the floor plan, but now taking a step back, and especially from the street elevation, looking to make sure that it feels like a cohesive mix, and take a look at how the windows are arranged in the neighborhood. They are all built in a mostly similar style. There's a few outliers. And I would recommend study. I understand why you want to bring light in there at the entry. I think right now it feels out of character with the style. And so I think there's some ways to kind of study that a little bit more. And I do agree. Generally, the location of the second floor does meet our recommendation. I do think it would be helpful for the board to see a section, a site section that shows that neighboring property as well, and or a street elevation that shows the neighboring property. And I think it'll be worth taking a look at the window locations to provide a level of privacy to the neighbor on that side. I think eliminating the roof deck means eliminating those stairs. So I think that will help as well. If you're considering stairs on another location, I think finding a way to balance the extreme height that you see from the neighbors would be helpful. I'm trying to think if there's anything else? I am in support of the adjustment to the garage. I think that creating this green space is really lovely in the front yard and creates a very approachable entrance. I think that garage adjustment is definitely, I think, supportable. And yeah. Any other comments? Otherwise, I think I'll make a motion. Okay. One question, I think especially eliminating the third story deck. I don't think that story poles are needed. It's not an FAR issue. I think we will want landscape plans. I'm looking at the things to make sure for PDA, if there's anything else that we want to make a point of seeing. Anything else? Okay.
The section
So the site sections and the silhouettes. Okay.
sufficient.
So I move to continue this project to the staff hearing officer and back to the full board with the following comments. The board recommends that the applicant reach out to the neighbors for good neighbor guidelines and communications and to better understand the privacy concerns. That the applicant remove the third floor deck. The board would be open to seeing options of a second floor deck that looks out to the backyard and or the front courtyard if it can be supported by references in the neighborhood. The board would like to see consistency of material with some sort of cohesive understanding and reasoning behind the materials of the residence. The board is in support of the general scale of the second story addition and finds the proposed height to be modest and appropriate. The board requests the window locations to be consistent with the style and the view from the street to be prioritized in considering the window arrangements. The board also recommends taking advantage of views from the second story and studying the rear window arrangements. The board finds the entry roof, it's not even a roof, the entry structure to be bulky and inconsistent with this style and would like to see an alternate design. The board would like to see a site section and or elevation that shows an outline of the neighboring property to the, what direction? East, thank you. That's it.
I'll second the motion, and I had a question. You mentioned at the beginning that this was going to the staff hearing officer, but it's coming back to the full board. It's not ready for the staff hearing officer. Is that what you mean by that?
Well, the staff hearing officer is just for the setback, so let me add a statement in there. I think they can still go to the staff hearing officer for the setback. That's just for the garage. So let me add a statement in there that the board supports the setback modification needed for the garage because the driveway adjustment provides a more aesthetic treatment of the front yard to the house. and less visible hardscaping. And in order to make that garage comply, it needs a minor increase in size. It does not change, the garage adjustment does not change the size, bulk, and scale significantly.
And just to staff, are they allowed to go to a show hearing without the other design being resolved?
It's just for the front setback modification.
Right, so the plans aren't deemed complete yet either, so they need to work towards completeness. They most likely in their, another submission package would address the comments from the board today. So I don't know, it's up to the client. I don't,
So would you recommend them coming back to full board
I
prior
just
to
thought
show?
I thought we were required to, in order for us to continue a project to staff hearing officer, that we had to be okay with the overall design. That's what I thought. I mean, I totally appreciate you wanting to move them on. I just didn't think it was possible. I didn't want to get anybody's hopes up.
Yeah, so the board has the opportunity to continue the project back to the board prior to going to show. So if there's any part of the design that the board feels uncomfortable with and would like to see again prior to continuing to show, you can make that motion now.
That's the motion we made, basically.
right, so I guess the question would be, would you like to change that continuance to staff
Right.
hearing officer?
Well, staff confirmed, the show is just for the setback modification, correct?
Correct.
Is show approving anything else or reviewing anything else?
No, but the design would, so let's say our applicant changed the design and then the footprint of that garage changed, then they would have to go back to the staff hearing officer. So I think we would need to,
Right, if the garage is going to change in any way.
yeah, so I don't feel comfortable answering
Okay,
this
great.
question necessarily. If it needs to come back to the staff hearing officer beforehand, I'll have that conversation with the applicant. But I think we can proceed with, the board generally supports the front setback modification.
Yeah, as long as the board is in support of the front setback modification, then we're okay. We just didn't want to proceed with full landscape drawings until we got that assurance, because we didn't want to waste the client's money.
Right, yeah.
And this is not going to happen. They're not ready to go off to show right away. They still need to work towards a completeness determination as well, so.
I can second the motion if the project comes back to full board, because I think it's going to get hung up in staff. I've never been able to have a project go to show hearing unless
If there's
it's,
okay,
unless
I'm
it's
okay with
been
that.
designed appropriately and we all agree on the design. So, but I can support a motion that returns the project
To the full
as
board.
an indefinite continuance that comes back to the full board.
I'm okay with that. Yes.
Okay, are we ready for a vote? Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Gaffidy,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehy.
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. And thank you for everyone for speaking up.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item, our last item today is a continued item here for project design approval and final approval. 330 Sherman, proposal to construct a 1,490 square foot, 2-story single-unit residence with an attached 503 square foot, 2-car garage on a vacant lot in the Hillside Design District. The project also includes new landscape, hardscape, and site improvements. The proposed total of 1,993 square feet of development on a 29,817 square foot lot is 42% of the maximum guideline floor to lot area ratio. PDA and final are requested. The project was last reviewed on March 25th. Are there any staff comments for this item? For item 3?
Yes. So, staff would like to acknowledge receipt of a public comment letter regarding site drainage. And we wanted to confirm that this project has been reviewed and deemed complete by the city's Creeks Division. So they did review the stormwater compliance plan. which ensures compliance with stormwater management best practices aimed at minimizing stormwater runoff onto adjacent properties and into the public right-of-way. I also did receive communication and confirmation from the building and safety supervisor that more of these details would be confirmed on plans at the building permit stage as well. And so if there are any questions or concerns with stormwater runoff, those could be directed towards towards building and safety when the building permit has been submitted. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So welcome. If you can make sure your microphones are on, and I see you've already pulled up the old minutes. As a part of your presentation, if you can reference the old minutes and if needed, any changes from the old plans to the new plans.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Shelton, architect.
And I'm Maddie Shelton with Jeff Shelton Architect.
Okay, it's been a year. We had some archaeology reviews and creeks and arborists and stuff like that, a sensitive site. So we're back here asking for final. I think we did address all your comments from last time. So we'll see if you like what we did. Why don't we go to a, let me see, what are they? Are they going to read them, or do we need to read them?
You can read them as a part of yours, and if you want to do item by item, that works as well.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the lands. Should we look at the site plan, Maddie?
Oh, yeah, and
It's also
and
a touch screen if that's helpful.
Yes, yeah, like an
Yeah.
iPad. Yep.
Okay, it's been a year. So we dropped the house down 8 feet. We'll see when we see the elevations. We made sure the graphics were correct on the street height compared to the building. We've added a landscape plan, which we'll get to in a second. Stormwater tanks are underneath the house. We try not to put a lot of water on these hillsides here, so we're collecting the water. It's about as small as house we could get since we had to have a two-car garage. Let's go to the next. Let's go through the. If you need to see site plans, once again, here we are. There's the vacant lot. It was a house had burned down there in the T-fire. Those are the houses all around. Our lot drops off quickly, and that's sort of the whole problem here. We had to shove the building out 20 feet, 25 feet, 20 feet per code. All the other buildings are 30 feet, and other buildings are 20 feet, and they're a lot closer. So that caused us most of our issues. Next, Maddie.
And so pardon the interruption, just through the chair to the applicant, I just wanted to make sure that you guys know you're on the old plan set dated from 2024. And on the tab on the far left is your current plan set. That's
That'd be
your
nice.
most up-to-date one.
So far, what we have shown you has not changed.
Great. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. Okay, here we go. Our arborist has looked at this project. We've kept the oak trees that we were going to get rid of Can you point to him with your arrow or something? This guy here. We've planted 2 more up there at the street. We've left the sycamore, native sycamore there. He wanted us to leave, so we've kept it there. We have some citrus trees just around. Kim True did the landscape architect. He's a landscape architect. Some citrus trees around both sides of the building on the front, and then a bunch of succulents and other things. We've added a fence as required at the top of our wall. We'll show you the details later, but up against, at the top of, yeah, right there, to keep someone wandering and falling off. And it's just a rusty, open welded wire fence. Let's go to floor plans. Floor plans, if there's any changes, they're minor. The size is the same and all that. What we did here, though, was we added that bottom floor, the garage level deck. There was a comment about that whole elevation being maybe a bit stark, and this actually helped it quite a bit with shadows and the deck itself, and you'll see that when we get to the elevation. So that was the main thing we struggled with to help that situation. Next. The roof plan, very simple. Like I said, we're keeping it, trying to make this affordable for the clients and kept a nice, simple shape. We've screened the mechanical equipment in the center of the roof, and with just plaster walls, just like the parapet walls. Next. Here's our black and white, our pencil drawings of the elevations. The color will bring out some of the things we just talked about a little bit better, but we sort of highlighted the changes in the roof, on the top of the roof, with vents and chimneys, etc. You can see the side. We just got the windows going up the stairs, a little more fun, showing the steps down to our building. And the decks. Next. Other side, very similar thing, basically doing construction documents and trying to figure out what all the issues were. There you can see the road on the back side from on this bottom elevation. You can see the difference, the road height and our first floor height. Next. Now we added this dado to help with the feel of the building. We had it in the front. We added it around the side, and that's kind of bright up there. It's not really orange deck. It's a Corten deck, rusty deck. So it'll be brown. Next, and there's the elevation. We tried to soften that bottom side of it. Now underneath that, behind those, there's some doors that go to the tanks down below. Just access doors. Next. Color palette has not changed. It's basically a white building with some colorful touches. Let's see. The concrete is a Mesa Buff poured concrete on the wall, the driveway wall, board formed. Sections, if you need to refer to that, you can see where the tanks are. Next. Details, I think we showed you these, but here they are again, 1 foot thick walls and just soft plaster. Next, keep going up. Same sort of things. There's the deck, nothing very complicated. That stuff. Next. We'll make the lamps and stuff and those kinds of things. Very simple ironwork, flat bar, I think 1/2 inch by 2 inch on the handrails, and just kind of real clean and simple. and that's the scupper, but overflow scupper. But that's basically it. There's the rest of the drawings, electrical and stuff, if you need to see them. I think we addressed those. I didn't have that list in front of me, but I think we addressed all those items.
I think the only other item was to see photos from Stanwood Drive. If you could just show us those again.
So, right here. This is from Stanwood Drive, this view, as requested. So it's really just trees. You can't see the spot on the site where the house will be. We did go up to Parma Park and take a photo from the hiking trail, and you can see that. But it's a remote trail.
Perfect, thank you. We will move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for this particular project. However, if anyone wishes to make a comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will turn our attention now to virtual comment. And at this time, I do not have any hands raised for virtual comment. And we did receive a written correspondence on this particular project from Mr. Michael Tansey. And at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
All right, thank you. We will start with questions from the board. On my flip sides, Board Member Sherry, do you want to start?
No questions.
No questions? Okay. Board Member Graffiti?
Sure. Can you just quickly flash the old front rendering that you had, the color render? I just wanted to see the change from the front to the current. Okay. And then I think one of our points, can you go back to the minutes? Sorry, I'm going to have you toggle a little bit here. Okay, so the board looks forward to landscape plans to soften the north side of the home. So just looking at the plans, was your intention to achieve that from plantings closer to the street versus against the facade of the home? Because I noticed, I think there's just some lower succulents in those front planters. And I'm trying to go back and think about the intention of those comments.
Well, I guess we go to the landscape plan, the new landscape plan. Just because we don't have anything right against the building.
Yeah, yep, that's
So
just my question.
Yeah, we
so
backed it
okay.
up to this upper level. We're talking about the street, right?
Mhm. Right.
Upper level, the oak trees, and leaving the sycamore. Yeah, we don't have giant bushes there.
Okay.
But I guess we did something.
Okay. And then, can you help me understand the lighting that's hanging over the front door? What is that attachment, or what is the intention behind that?
Did I not do the detail? What's the intention?
Oh,
Why do I
okay.
hang it like that?
Okay, no, the side view is helpful to see how it's hanging from the top, but sure.
It just sort of fills the space and gives 3 dimensions.
Okay. And then my last question is just, because there's the new elements on the roof, is there an inspiration behind the shapes that you can speak to? It's not something I've seen as much before, so.
Yeah, just try to soften, celebrate a little corner or transition. And, I usually don't like to go straight down and go. I like to go and maybe a little corbel, or it's sort of just don't just hit something and go. Sort of even the transition should have something. So that's basically all I'm doing.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Moslehi?
I have just one question. This south elevation that we're looking at, the window that I believe it's in the staircase.
Board member, is your mic?
No, it's not. Thank you. Okay, on the south elevation that we're looking at, the window that it's, I believe it's in the staircase and the little window, and there's another one on the other side of this elevation. The bottom, like that elevation, the window on the right as well, the little window. So these two, so are these intentionally not the head height and the sill, not at the same location?
Yeah.
For playfulness?
Yeah, it's, if you put them all in a line, you really do notice that. You also notice this, but I think it takes up space better.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
The reason I'm asking is on the west elevation, I'm seeing all this like little windows, like they have like a relationship from head height and sill. So that's why I thought that, is this like intentional or not? So that was my
Well,
question.
first of all, it's all intentional. I work from the inside out on a building. And as the stairs coming down, it's the view of this, and I have that pot, I just dropped it. It's sort of like leaving enough plaster room above it. If not, it gets thin and doesn't look right.
Okay. That was my question.
And the other one, you have to look out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Board Member Richards?
Yeah, if we could go to the next sheet. So the detail of that dado where you're changing color, is there any sort of plaster detail there to accentuate that, or?
Yeah, I don't know if we showed it. We should have. We're just finishing up with one. We've done the same thing. It's a 1/2-inch little bullnose
offset
plaster. Yeah, it makes it much easier. Well, it makes it someplace for the painter to stop. Right.
And then I guess my question is, so I see that it's at a certain height that wraps 3 sides of the building, and as we get to the back elevation, it drops below that deck. Is that intentional? Is that?
It's intentional, and you can see we've had it across the front at that same height, just wrap it. And I think when we get there, we're going to try to figure out if that is much better. Will that corner drive you crazy is kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a standard problem. I figured it was on the back side we could solve it. So if everybody wants to wrap it, we had that drawing too.
I think my last question is just the desire for those decks to go basically edge to edge, facade to facade. It seems like you've got basically a C channel that wraps that. Have you studied how that detail dies into that corner, that back facade?
We've done the what do you call it, the structural detail for it. So yeah, go to that. And it's 2 open channels.
All right, so my question is, as that C channel turns and runs back into
It
the
just runs
building,
straight in and you plaster around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's going to be an offset from basically the
Yeah.
metal edge to, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be offset a whole rim board and a TJI.
Okay.
So 3 inches, 3.5
Okay.
inches.
Yeah, thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Okay. No questions. We'll move to comments. Board Member Sherry, do you want to start?
I think that the project's ready for preliminary project design approval and final approval. I don't have any additional comments.
Okay. Board Member Graffiti?
I like a lot of the elements of the project. I love the use of color. I think the landscaping is going to be beautiful, and I like some of the changes and just details you've added. The only thing that I'm struggling with, and I'm curious to hear the other board members' thoughts, are just, I don't know why and I understand the stepping and doing something playful and different, but for some reason the shapes of the chimneys and the element on the roof, I don't know how to put this, but I don't know, there's something about them that aesthetically to me seems like it could maybe be changed. So that's all my feedback.
Board Member Richards? Oh, sorry, skip. Board Member Mosley.
I think it's a beautiful project. It's a it's going to be a nice addition to the neighborhood. I kind of thought about the board member graffiti as well, because like it will be a new addition that there's no there's nothing like that in that neighborhood. I mean, like, it's far away from it. There are examples in Santa Barbara, but this is its own unique addition to the neighborhood. So I'm okay with it.
Board Member Richards?
Yeah, I think it's a really attractive project. There's a lot to like with it. And I appreciate, all the work that was put into the architecture and then also the landscape architecture, providing that. So yeah, that covers me.
Okay. I see Jeff sketching, and I like where you're going. I think reducing the radius of the curves of the architectural details at the roof, I think helps a little bit, and it connects them a little bit more to the building itself. Can you see his sketch a little bit? And I think adding some radius up at the top part, so it's not as sharp, that helps too, and kind of combines all those movements together. And I think that could help it feel a little more like wiggly feels like, but I think it would help rather than they kind of stand alone right now, and being able to soften that approach up to it, I think will be nice. And I think that's something we can easily add as a comment and still give final approval. But I do appreciate all the additions from the last time that we saw the project. I think the dado helps a lot as it wraps around, and I think the length of the balcony at the lower level actually helps kind of resolve the dado a little bit, because you see that shadow line kind of below it and wrap, and I think the landscaping will be really nice. And I think that was part of the approach of just making sure it consistently went with the project and added that color along with it. So yeah, I'm happy to make a motion if there's any other comments. No? Okay. I move to approve this project for project design approval and final approval.
I'll second the motion.
Thanks. I'll make my findings. The proposed development is consistent with the scenic character of the city and will enhance the appearance of the neighborhood. The proposed development is compatible with the neighborhood in its size, bulk, and scale, is appropriate to the site and neighborhood, is quite small on the site, and through the balconies and landscaping tapers down with the hillside. The proposed buildings and structures are designed with quality architectural details. The proposed materials and colors maintain the natural appearance of the ridgeline or hillside with the soft cream white and the blue dado helping to minimize the appeared height, as well as the balconies on the rear helping to break up the elevation. The trees are being preserved, no trees are to be removed. The public health, safety, and welfare are appropriately protected and preserved. The project generally complies with the Good Neighbor Guidelines regarding privacy, landscaping, noise, and lighting. The development, including proposed structures and grading, preserves significant public scenic views of and from the hillside. The development, including proposed structures and grading, is appropriate to the site, is designed to avoid visible scarring, and does not significantly modify the natural topography of the site or the natural appearance of the ridgeline or hillside. The development maintains a scale and form that blends with the hillside by minimizing the visual appearance of structures and the overall height of structures. I'll add a comment to that one, that from the street it appears almost as a one-story building peaking above the grade level. It's quite minimal in height. The grading findings have been met as stated in section 226930 of the City of Santa Barbara Municipal Code. The proposed grading will not significantly increase siltation in or decrease the water quality of streams, drainages, or water storage facilities to which the property drains, and the proposed grading will not cause a substantial loss of southern oak woodland habitat. Okay, I will add a recommendation as well, a statement to consider softening the radiuses of the roof architectural detailing at the south elevation. Does the second agree with my statements?
Yeah, are you meaning, I was trying to understand what you were meaning when you said it. Are you meaning that the radius of what in particular on the
These
south
two
elevation?
roof line architectural details. So as Jeff has drawn a slight reduction in this, but then playing up the radius there.
Reduce the radius of the curves on
Yes.
the elements, okay.
Yes. Mhm.
And yeah, if it's
It's a recommendation.
just a recommendation, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
We'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Chair Lewis?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry?
Yes.
Board Member Gaffidy?
Yes.
Board Member Moslahy?
Yes.
Board Member Richards?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll work on that. Easy.
That ends our
Appreciate it.
single-family design board meeting.
but
Oh,
right-
sorry.
right-
Oh,
right before we do,
staff has a comment about appeals.
Yeah, just, I gotta throw the appeal process out there, so decision made here today can be appealed. You have 10 days to do so. Otherwise, you guys can prepare and submit to building and safety. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And
And-
with that, the meeting for March 24th has ended.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.